The Fed wants to continue raising your interest rates. Apple versus Uniswap. And is Joe Biden about to ban TikTok? This is Around the Blockchain. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure you hit that like button. We got some great guests on. We're going to get right into it. On the top left, we have the Blockchain Crusader come in from Debate Crypto OG. Crusader, how's it going today?
Doing great, man. Thank you for having me back on. I appreciate
Always
it.
a great time. Always a great time. And then on the top right, we have AJ Pleasanton. AJ writes crypto, one of our internal writers. Double XL, is that your real size?
No, actually, I do wear 2XL shirts. I have a long torso. I like them long.
He looks like Lil Wayne in '93. All right, and then also we have RiceTVx. Rice, always a good time when you're here. Rice, any weekend plans?
Yeah, I shared them with you guys before we started, and I don't think I should share it publicly.
I'm picking up what you're putting down there. And then first-time guest and Marta, why don't you just tell people where you're from before they spam the comment section asking?
So I'm currently living in Ireland. I'm Polish by blood. This is my home right now, though. Last 18 years.
All right. Well, welcome
I'm
to the
Irish.
show. Hey, it's wonderful to have you on. And if you like what the people
Thanks
are
for
saying, make sure you hit +1 in the chat. Whoever has the most points at the end gets to leave us with some parting thoughts. And we're going to go ahead and start with the future rate hikes that are coming down. The Fed released, this is only twice a year. It's their semi-annual monetary report to Congress. And they underscored that, hey, inflation is still remaining too high. And one of the main reasons they're giving is this job market is just too hot and needs to come down. That's right. And unemployment needs to go up is what they're saying here. And Jerome Powell, he is going to testify on this report. And again, this is only semi-annually. He's going to step in front of Congress and receive their questions. And the first time since Republicans are in control. Now, RiceTVx, what do you think Jerome is going to be expecting here? Is Jerome going to be coming out to applause, thunderous applause and roses like the end scene of Mockingjay? Or it's going to be the earlier scenes of Mockingjay? They're going to be throwing sticks and stone his direction.
I think it's going to be sticks and stones, my friend. Considering everything that we've been experiencing from all this money printing, and now that we have the Republicans where they're going to be kind of having the lead charge in this situation when this meeting takes place, it's not going to go how it went before, because I think there was an agenda being set. Now they're trying to break that agenda. There's obviously been some sort of oversight over the Fed, but it's very limited as to what the government and the oversight they actually have. There is a government accountability office, and that's basically what they're going to be reporting to. This inflation has gotten out of control. I explained and came on here this past Tuesday, and I've said it numerous times that the Federal Reserve should have raised the interest rates by 50 basis points, not 25 this last go around. A lot of people are expecting 25 again. I'm thinking they're going to go 50 because I mentioned also on Tuesday, there was a report that came out. The correct name of the report is the consumption expenditure, the recent personal consumption expenditures, and it shows a reacceleration of inflation. So they've ran lots of different test scenarios within the Fed with monetary policy, and they're saying they've got to get interest rates up to 6.5%, which is a lot higher than they've already talked about previously. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure being put on. But ultimately, at some point, the Fed is going to have to reverse course, because this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And when it comes down to it, because they're either going to deflate the market to the point that it crashes, or they're going to inflate the market to the point that it crashes. But it's going to crash, and it's just how it's going to crash. And there's not going to be a soft landing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and extra point to you. I'm going to give you one extra. I remember you said, hey, they should have doubled that rate hike. They should have definitely done 50 basis points. And then it looks like Cruz came home to roast, and Rice was correct the whole time. All right, well, Crusader, talking about this jobs market, they're saying it needs to come down. The employment rate needs to come down. It's too hot, especially in the services industry. Why do you think the job market has been so robust lately, even in spite of these hikes, even in spite of a broad market downturn and, looming fears of the macro trends in the future? How is this still just so robust?
Yeah, I think the real question is, is it really robust? I don't think it has been. I think the numbers have been fugazi, right? We saw what happened 2 years ago with all the jobs going away, and now we know how they do the numbers, right? What's determined as unemployed or not employed, and what makes you on the list. And by having all the same jobs that you already eliminated coming back onto the job market, is that really a strong job market? I don't think so, right? I think the numbers have been fugazi this whole time, and that has led us into this scapegoat narrative of, well, the job market is too strong, so we need to keep raising interest rates. That's the only way we're going to get back to 2% inflation. It's not our fault; it's the job market. So everybody, please just stop working, right? Stop working, and so we can save the economy, guys. That's how we're going to do it. Um, so that whole narrative, I think, is just exactly that, a narrative to push interest rates higher and higher to control, right? Because it was all about, it's transitory, inflation is transitory. Don't worry, guys, everything's going to be okay. We got you. But in reality, they don't have anything under control. They've been fugazi. All the numbers from the very beginning, whether it's the job markets, the inflation numbers, right, the CPI numbers, everything has been a lie. Everything has been actually a lot lower than what it's actually been, just to keep panic from happening in the markets and the economy. So this soft landing, I don't think is going to be that soft at all. I don't think it has been, and that's the problem.
Well, AJ, I think Crusader's bringing up some good points. The language they were using in the past is everything's going to be okay. Don't you worry. We have a soft landing. I'm looking at the runway. The lights are bright. I see the guy with the orange cones. Everybody, it's okay. In fact, take your seatbelt off. Is it going to be a soft landing, or am I going to be coming out wondering why my spine and neck hurt?
Probably not. We've already seen them change the definition of a recession. So now I feel like it wouldn't be out of character for them to change the definition of this. I agree with Debate Crypto. The numbers are fugazi, however you want to say that one. But no, like, they're trying to make it seem the best they possibly can. But the truth is that, like, I don't know, when you're $31 trillion in debt and you just keep kicking the can down the road, eventually the chickens have to come home to roost, and someone at the end of the street has to pay for something. So, like, this is the only power that they have. Like, the only thing that they can do to combat this is to hike up the interest rates. And the markets have, the past one or two of them, the markets reacted positively to the interest rates because they came in as expected. But I would be surprised if they went with a 0.5 interest rate. I kind of see another 0.25 coming because they're trying to say, like, hey, everything is okay. They're trying to keep up the facade that everything's fine. And if they go with 0.50, that goes against the lie. So I kind of expect a 0.25 because of the expectation of a 0.25, which would make the facade true.
All right. I would agree. Yeah, they're trying to change history, make the facade true. Like, don't believe your eyes, just believe your ears here.
Right.
Now, Marta,
Exactly.
we're kind of talking, just domestically in America, the issues that we're facing. Do you feel like in Europe, you're in Ireland, you said, are you seeing data that just must be false? The numbers don't match. We look at our data like, I know eggs are up more than 7%. I know everything is up. I know these inflation numbers should really be double digits. Is that how you feel as well in Ireland?
Funny, because one of the guys there was talking about what was it that the numbers oh yeah, stop working, and that's gonna solve everything. Funny thing is that actually here in Ireland, there are a lot of jobs, but there are no people that want to work. And yeah, inflation is through the roof. Jobs are out there though, and nobody wants to work. Why? Because they got very, very used to doing nothing during the pandemic. There was a lot of handouts. There was a lot of, money being given for nothing. And right now, people are either leaving the country or just not interested in going back to work. So I do think we're definitely being lied to in terms of what is exactly going on. I go shopping for my family, and it's actually scary. 100%, that inflation is not as low as we're being led on.
All right. Well, I hate saying it, but it kind of, I like hearing this, not just us in America. We're all getting Fugazi data here. All right, well, let's
Let me,
talk.
can I add something real quick though?
Rice.
Because
Yeah, go ahead.
we're seeing an increase in jobs, but I don't necessarily think that it's new jobs. It's also people picking up second and third jobs to try to keep up with everything
Yep.
that's going on, and that's what's not being reported. Plus, some people that aren't collecting unemployment aren't being reported, and so the numbers, like just exactly like Crusader said. I mean, it's just complete manipulation of numbers to try to make you think that one thing is reality when you know what reality is, but you have this big brother telling you no. You might think that's reality, but no, this is reality.
Yeah, and hit that like button if you don't identify as lazy. If you're out there, if you're working, you want to work, you want to earn income. Me personally, been working since high school and haven't stopped, haven't looked back since. All right, but let's talk about Apple versus Uniswap. I just wanted to pull up the coin. Just it's always fun. Looking here, we are down roughly in line with the rest of the market. If I was looking at the 24-hour, just it fell when Bitcoin fell. Now largely flat. But if you look at that all-time chart, you can see here, above $40, pushing around 45, and now we're currently at 622. But Uniswap, they just announced the launch of a new mobile wallet, and only to be blocked by Apple's App Store. They said, let Tim cook. He said, I guess so. The Twitter handle revealed that it was self-custodial and open source, and now they are just passing out early releases at ETH Denver, since apparently they put this submission in months ago, and have just been crickets back from the iOS team there. And they said in a tweet, so why a limited early release from a team committed to access for anyone? Simply put, Apple won't greenlight our launch, and we don't know why. We submitted our app months ago, and even though we are 100% compliant with their specifications, we are still stuck in limbo. Now, Crusader, do you believe that on its face here? Do you think that they're crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's? And, is it their fault? Is it Apple's fault? What do you think's happening here?
Yeah, dude, that's a great question, right? We literally were talking about something very similar about this on Debate Crypto just the other day about a decentralized Twitter app and why it would never really work. Yes, Apple does have very stringent guidelines for their app development, right? And they are very, very strict on what they want allow and don't allow. And this just goes to show you that even with decentralized applications, not saying that this wallet is decentralized, but whether it is or not, the problem is the bottleneck is Apple and the Google Play Store, right? These bottlenecks will not allow an application that doesn't fit their narrative, doesn't fit into whatever guidelines they want to work with, go out there to the public. So it's most likely not the application itself. I'm sure the application is 100% compliant with their guidelines, right? I used to develop apps for Apple. I know a lot of people are still doing it now, and they will put you on hold for as long as they want for whatever reason without giving you a reason. And this is a perfect example. We've seen this happen before as well in the past history with Parler. When Parler was doing things that they didn't fit the narrative with Apple, they just pulled them off the App Store. So this goes to show you that centralization will always be a problem, and these app stores are centralized, and crypto wallets and crypto applications are going to have to find a way around these systems to really get mass adoptions, because until these centralized entities don't come play ball with crypto with their narrative, they're not going to allow crypto to thrive on their ecosystem. They just won't allow it, and this is a perfect example of what they're doing it right now to a wallet that is not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, and here they have a tweet just put out 5 hours ago, introducing the new wallet. And if you scroll down, you'll see them at the ETH Denver. You'll see the team kind of leading to what you said, maybe decentralized, maybe not. There has to be obviously some points of centralization. I don't think they had a DAO create that tweet by any means. Now, Marta, we have this big battle, Apple versus Solana. I'm sorry, about to say Solana there. Apple versus Uniswap. Do you think that the censorship is being emboldened by these regulators, European regulators, US regulators? They're cracking down on crypto. Do you think that is why Apple is saying, hey, we just kind of have to put up some speed bumps and stop signs?
I think when you said there's crickets, there's a saying: if you don't know what it's about, it's definitely about money. And Apple will not allow anybody, use their operating systems if you don't pay, and they're not going to have anything out of it. Obviously, I don't think there's any reason why Uniswap couldn't, except for the fact that they're going to be missing out on fees, and maybe something to do with all the censorship and stuff like that, or control in terms of SEC, possibly trying to crack down on crypto, because what is crypto, guys? It's self custody. It's our freedom. It's we're in charge. Apple wants to have control. They want to take over. They don't want you to think that they have monopoly, but this is pretty much the case.
I love that saying, if you hear crickets, you don't know what it's about money. Haven't heard that one before. It rings true for sure. Now, Rice, I accidentally said Solana, so I'm just going to ask you this fun question. Is this Solana's moment for a phone?
No, absolutely not. But it is a moment for us to particularly think about other companies doing this 100%. Because I mean, I think, I do not like Solana. So, but I do like the idea of a Web3 based phone. And I do like the idea of us having more choices. But this also brings back more attention. One, that we see a lot of big tech being in bed with government and vice versa. Look what happened with the Rumble situation being taken off of the App Store and the Google Play Store. So these companies have way too much control. And I understand that, Apple has certain requirements and things to that effect, but I'm thinking that Uniswap, as big of an organization as they are, even though they're decentralized, that they are going to be putting together a good product, that there shouldn't be any reason that the code would be the issue that is not issued. So is this because that there's some kind of crackdown on decentralization? Had this been an exchange, like a centralized exchange that wanted to put the application on the App Store, that it would have worked out? There's so many things at play here. Is Apple trying to do something on their own and they don't want other companies to be available on their App Store? So another thing that I think this brings attention to is that we need something like a decentralized App Store. But the one thing that iPhone has in particular, Apple, is the security. So, I mean, you can put really bogus, scammy apps on the Google Play Store and really screw up your phone, your privacy, and all that kind of information. And that would be one of the downfalls of having a decentralized app store. But if we could figure out some way of being able to vet the code, make sure that, that we're not allowing for malicious applications to be utilized, this is a perfect opportunity for us to be building that, in my opinion. But we definitely need to be doing everything that we can individually to fight big tech. And the companies that aren't being supportive of crypto, if you are a supporter of crypto, then you need to stop supporting those entities that do not support crypto.
Yeah, I think the duopoly is definitely holding back America. And of course, I mean, the Apple, Android, stranglehold it has on the mobile phone app sector. AJ, what are your thoughts about, a competitor to mobile MetaMask, essentially? Do you think that Uniswap can chip away at their market share with everything that MetaMask has going behind it, with, their compliance and consensus and everything else? Can this scrappy upstart, shred away their shares here?
I mean, it would be nice to see. I mean, every time that there's competition, someone has to innovate, someone has to get better, someone has to prove why that they're a competitor and why they're better than the next guy. So for this kind of get put on the sideline by Apple is kind of unfortunate, because we want to see this kind of space innovate. We want to see it get better. And I think it's complete sabotage that they're not allowing Uniswap to do this. It just goes to show. I completely agree with what Rice said. This is completely because of they're decentralized, and that's the exact opposite of like what a company like Apple wants to see. They want everything to stay centralized. They want to stay with the power, and this gives the power back to the people. And God forbid if that happens. So it's really a bummer to see. I doubt that without being on Apple that they'll get into the market share that hard, because let's be frank, everyone has an iPhone. I'm doing this ATB on my laptop with earbuds in my, I mean, it's all Apple. I even have an Apple Watch. So it's just like, I hate that they're doing that, but then I look at all my stuff on the table and I'm like, dang, like they
Such a
got me.
hypocrite.
So it's just like we will take convenience, over what is right a lot of the time. And that kind of bums me out, because I want to be on the side ethically that supports decentralization, that supports having competition and innovation. So it's like, but am I about to sell all my Apple stuff? Probably not.
Yeah, I'll take you one further. I have an Apple phone, and I even hate it. So, all right, let's move on.
Yeah, you
and
just got that too.
I'm not a fan. All right, let's move on and talk about TikTok ban. And no, I'm not talking about Ben's account getting taken. I'm looking at him right now. I want to throw that out. No, TikTok, they're floating, possibly banning it in America. The U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee voted along party lines to give Biden the power to ban the Chinese social media app. Lawmakers voted 24-16. And looking at some of their stats here, used by over 100 million Americans. And one of the other things, anybody downloaded, this is a statement from one of the representatives. Anyone who downloaded TikTok on their device has given the CCP a backdoor to all of their personal information. It's a spy balloon into their phone. RiceTVx, is that a fair or unfair assessment? Is TikTok a spy balloon in my pocket?
I mean, it's very well quite possible. It very well is possible. But what's interesting about this, and I'm going to go out on a limb, because how long have we had TikTok in the United States, and how long have we been possibly talking about this issue, and it just now having some sort of um, some some action
Momentum,
being
finally.
taken? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is when you look back at what just has occurred over the past month. We've had the balloon, the real balloon, not a digital balloon. It's like in the case of a TikTok. We've had the UFOs, and we have and the TikTok thing has just been building up. So I'm wondering, and I've been thinking about this a lot. It seems as if they're trying to gear up the everyday American to build up anti-sentiment against China, as if we're gearing up for something. And if you look around the world and you look at different military actions, you'll see different militaries are preparing for something. And if we see what's happening over with Russia, Ukraine, that seems to be escalating. And it seems as if China would be taking the side of Russia. And it doesn't seem like the United States is on the side of Russia in this instance. So it just seems as if we're just building up sentiment, negative sentiment, trying to coerce the American public to be cool with us going to the big W. I want to be refrained from certain language so it doesn't affect the channel. But yeah, I really just think that this is what this is about. I just think it's propaganda
It's a
get
stark
it.
contrast to 2 years ago, the NBA, John Cena, when they would talk about China. Why do I say it like that? Because that social media comes from China. All right, now,
Yes.
Marta, what are your views on TikTok? Is it this, scary thing that should be deleted? Is it bad for, Irish parliamentary members? Their kids have it on their phone. Is this a national security threat, or are we just, maybe blowing this up a little too much, like a balloon?
First off, I have to be super honest with you guys, and I'm probably not gonna do myself any favors here, but I absolutely despise the fucking thing. I can't stand TikTok. I think it's an absolute it sucks you in. I have 2 kids and they cannot leave the phone away. I think it's just terrible what it does. I've heard their algorithm is absolutely incredible at keeping you sucked in. So I really just looking at at the 2 kids I have and trying to grow them properly. Go outside, play with your friends. It's all devices. But going back to the topic, funny thing, what I want to kind of say is, and kind of touch on what Rice was just talking about. So it's not okay for China to spy, but it's okay for your own country to spy. Because come on now, what about Alexa? What about every app that we use that you give permission to basically gather every possible information about you? A lot of people aren't even aware of it, that your devices at home are actually listening to you, and somebody is taking that info in, somebody is, using that. You may only think, okay, it's just because they want to cater for ads, or I'm being fed what I want to see. That's no bother whatsoever, because I actually wanted to buy that inflatable bed that I don't need, right? Because I was just talking to a friend about it. Or that boat, it was actually a funny story back in the day when I think there was like flood, and all of a sudden people were being, fed yachts because so it's just in general, I think, guys, there is some sort of a deflection mechanism there, certainly. I think we kind of have to look more closer to, our own noses than China. I think there's, whatever is going on, we might never know the real spectrum of it, and the reason why this is happening. I just think it's just funny how it is, it's bad for China to spy, like I said, but we're probably being listened to at every corner. And
all right, I'm getting a note from BJ. He said FBI just entered chat. So yeah, I would agree. There's no
so
telling,
the
how
feds are
pervasive
constantly
It's all the
listening to
surveillance
it.
alphabets,
is.
not just one.
It's
We're
all
looking for
all the agencies.
RiceTVx.
Crusader, where do you put the likelihood that Biden is going to sign this bill? And if so, what kind of timeline are we looking at here?
Dude, to be honest, I don't know if he's gonna do it or not. I really don't. I'm torn apart, right? It makes sense, right, with the national security issues, right, that you should do something like that. But like Martha, right, like Rice have been saying, we do that, right? Did everybody forget about Facebook? Did everybody forget about Instagram, right? They're international, they're worldwide. Everyone's using those apps, and people in those countries, right, their metadata is being collected. So is it really gonna make? Is it really about the national security, or is it about the competition, right? Because we do know Facebook's struggling. We do know that Instagram is struggling, right? And TikTok's just a better application than those are, right? The newer generations are jumping onto TikTok. They're not jumping into Facebook. They're not jumping into Snapchat. They're not jumping into Instagram. They're just not. And I think the competition is the biggest problem and the biggest incentive for this. I also believe what Rice was saying was also true about building a narrative against China, right? Which they've been very soft on this whole time, but now out of nowhere they're very, hardened by this whole China issue and all the spying that they're doing to build, like Rice was saying, a good dish of freedom. Because like we were speaking about earlier in the show, right? Inflation rates, we need to make more money. The country's economy is down, and what do we do when the economy is down? Well, we need to give somebody some freedom so that we can gain some resources and some money. And I think that's where the narrative is. So if they do this, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think this is gonna drag on for the next year or so with the whole TikTok ban. To be honest, I just don't really know if they're going to go through it. I would probably err on the side that they won't. They probably won't do it. And if they ever did, then things are getting a bit serious.
Let me add.
Go ahead.
I want to add something. I think I mentioned this before, though. TikTok is really taking away a lot of revenue from some of these other social media application companies that are United States based. So it really would not surprise me if there's enough pressure put on by your Facebooks and such to get rid of it, so it brings revenue back.
Facebook's been known to lobby against them. All right, AJ, I'm gonna wrap it up, and then I'm gonna do my tinfoil hat theory on TikTok. AJ, who is going to be the winner if this is banned? Do you see it? Is it Snapchat taking the lead? Is it Twitter? Is it Instagram? Can someone come up and fill the vacuum?
Yeah, good question. So I have a certain opinion on TikTok. I have two little sisters. One is 19, the other one's 16. And if TikTok got banned, at least we would get them back for at least a couple hours until the new app, until TalkTick comes in and kills everything. My sisters make fun of me because I'm so old. I have a Facebook. So I definitely kind of stay up to the beat on what the kids are doing through them, and they are not interested in Twitter. They're not interested. They sort of like Instagram, but let's be honest, TikTok. It's kind of like being in a casino for kids. There's a lot of flashing lights. The retention rate's really high. The videos just keep going forever and ever. I wonder how many miles they scrolled with their thumbs. But basically, I think that the gap is going to have to be filled by a new version of it if it goes down. The kids, they like to edit their videos and the dances, and there's so much more you can do with TikTok than you can on, say, Instagram or whatever for editing videos. It's actually kind of mind-blowing. So, yeah, I don't think that anything that is already in existence is going to be the void that's filled for the kids. It's going to have to be another version of TikTok or better.
Yeah, I would agree. It's going to be at the short form content. We're kind of going in that direction. Maybe Vine, maybe Elon resurrects Vine. I can see that as being a potential.
Yeah.
Here's my tinfoil hat. Then we're going to give it away to Rice to end the episode here. Everything I'm about to say is paraphrased from Jason Calacanis. There's a lot of money who's invested into this IPO. It should be releasing in Hong Kong stock market this year. And it might be 100x, 500x, 1000x for some of these VC allocators. Correct me if it could be a Pantera, Tiger, and Apollo. There's other big money, big VC firms. And these are the same firms that donate to both sides of the politicians here in America. And so they must have an IPO to pull out their billions upon billions and their 100x's, their 500x's. And after they pull out their capital, that's when we'll start seeing serious talks about a ban. but maybe now this is us, setting the stage. That's just my tinfoil hat theory. But that is all we have time for. And it looks like Rice ended up narrowly beating. It was a very close one. Rice, feel free. Friday episode. Take it away, brother.
Well, one, thank you again for having me on Around the Blockchain. I encourage everybody to follow everybody who's on the show, and make sure you're checking out both of my channels, RiceTVx and Rice Against the Grain. And one thing that I wanted to add on the last part of the question was fifth generational warfare. That's what you guys need to look into and research. It's warfare that is conducted primarily through non-kinetic military actions such as social engineering, misinformation, and cyber attacks, often using technologies such as artificial intelligence and fully autonomous systems. So look into fifth generational warfare and educate yourself, people, and get outside and enjoy the weekend.
All right. And I think Flat Smack said it best in the comment section. Maybe the Amish were right all along. That's all we got today. See you next week.